Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now, I would like to turn the call over to your host, Linda Lee. Linda, you may begin.
Thank you, Victoria. Hello, everyone. My name is Linda Lee, and I would like to welcome everyone to today's webinar on the Annual Business Survey, where you'll learn about the recently released business and demographic data available from this program. Today's speaker is Mr. Aaron Finkel. Aaron is a survey statistician with the Annual Business Survey Program area. Aaron will be presenting an overview of the ABS program, showing you the latest data and how to access the information. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions while Aaron is presenting using the Q&A feature, and you'll be able to ask questions on the phone after the presentation as well. Additional items to note: first, the slides and recording of this webinar will be posted on our site under the Census Academy. Next, we are utilizing technology off-site, and we aim to provide you with the best experience possible. Should we experience any technical delays during our session, please utilize the chat feature to let us know of issues, and we will mitigate them as soon as possible. And now I'd like to turn it over to our speaker, Aaron.
Thank you so much, Linda. Hello, and thank you all for coming. As Linda said, my name is Aaron, and I work for the Business Owners Branch. Today, we'd like to talk to you about our most recent data release, the 2021 Annual Business Survey, or ABS for short. As Linda said, feel free to put any questions you have in the Q&A chat whenever you have them, or feel free to wait until the end, where we will have a devoted Q&A section where you can unmute and ask your question. Now on to the survey. The Annual Business Survey, or ABS for short, is sponsored by the National Center for Science and Engineering Statistics, the NCSES, within the National Science Foundation. The survey is both collected and released annually. 4 years, 2017 to 2020, have already been released, and we are currently in collection for 2021. It is mandatory under Title 13 of the U.S. Code. The ABS is actually a replacement / continuation of 4 other surveys: the Survey of Business Owners, SBO, the Annual Survey of Entrepreneurs, ASC, the Business R&D and Innovation Survey for Microbusinesses, the BRDM, and the innovation part of the Business R&D and Innovation Survey, the BRDIS. Okay, now that we've covered a little bit of the background, let's talk more about what actual data are available. The most recent full release of the ABS, the 2021 ABS, covers data year 2020, and this naming structure is used for all 4 currently released years of the ABS. This naming choice was done due to collection timing. People often called into our branch confused about being surveyed regarding 2018 data in 2019 or 2020. So our branch decided to make the survey title reference the collection year rather than the data year, to help mitigate timing confusion for respondents. The survey covers firm count, owner count, sales, number of employees, and payroll by race, ethnicity, veteran status, and sex, as well as various business and owner characteristics changing every year. The ABS also stratifies this data by employment size, receipt size, and years of business. Due to the 2021 release, there is now data regarding the total number of rural and urban firms, as well as employee sizes of less than or greater than or equal to 500 employees. This data is available at the national, state, and metropolitan statistical area geographies with 2 to 4 digit NAICS. In the 2018 ABS, we have a bit more availability with 2 to 6 digit NAICS in combined statistical area, metropolitan division, county, and place. As mentioned before, the data are released annually, with the 2021 ABS being released in November, with the 2022 ABS data being collected now. The data mentioned in the last slide is broken down to 4 data sets: company summary, the broad summary data broken down by demographics; characteristics of business and business owners, which features various topics on businesses and their owners respectively; and the module business characteristics, which features a constantly changing set of topical characteristics, with 2021 focusing on technology, financing, and management practices. For example, the characteristics of businesses set contains data on whether the business is family owned or not, and the types of customers served. The characteristics of business owners has data on the year the business was acquired by, as well as the age of the owner. And the module tables have data on the effects of the coronavirus on business profitability, as well as what technologies each business used. And each data set has many more different types of data. It's important to note that all of these examples are broken down demographically, as mentioned prior. The data can be accessed at the link provided and also includes an API for the ABS. Before moving on to the data, a couple definitions will help understand the classifications we are working with. Sorry, a little slide trouble there. Before moving, so here we are. Thank you for your patience, guys. So NAICS, or the North American Industry Classification System, is a system of 2 to 6 digit codes used in business to classify the industry to which a company belongs. As mentioned before, the 2021 ABS includes a granularity of up to 4 digits, with the 2018 going all the way up to 6. The broad overall industry is summarized by a 2-digit NAICS designation and gets more granular the more digits you add on. For example, as you can see here, NAICS 62 represents healthcare and social assistance, getting more and more specific until the 6-digit NAICS of 623210, representing residential, intellectual, and development disability facilities. The ABS covers all of the major NAICS designations, such as construction, utilities, and healthcare. If you'd like to see a full list of the NAICS covered, as well as more information on the NAICS system, please follow the link provided. One more definition that will help is the urban-rural distinction. Due to the 2021 ABS, the idea of urban, meaning city-based, or rural, meaning more countryside-based, is difficult to define objectively. To get as close as possible, we used an exact metric, which was simply population density. If the census block the business is located in has at least 2,500 inhabitants, it is urban, i.e. more densely/city-based, and otherwise it is rural or more countryside-based. The populations are directly derived from our census taken every 10 years and are updated with each new census collected. For more information, please click the link provided. Okay, now that we've got all the definitions out of the way, let's show some examples of this data. One of the most common uses of our data are demographic breakdown of our Big Four statistics: firm count, receipts, employee count, and payroll. Here we can see a general summary of the United States in 2020, with about 5.8 million in firm count, 38.9 trillion in receipts, 129 million in employees, and 7.3 trillion in payroll. But of course, the main draw of this survey isn't just firm count and the like. It is the breakdown of business ownership by demographic. Here, we can see a demographic breakdown of the firms in the United States by race, namely minority or non-minority. For a quick definitional breakdown, in the ABS, we ask respondents to self-report their race from a variety of options, such as white, Black, Asian, etc. In this case, non-minority means both white and non-Hispanic, and minority means everything else. Unsurprisingly, non-minority firms make up the majority of firms in the United States at 4.3 million, with minority coming in at 1.2 million, equally owned at 98,000, and unclassifiable at 209,000. Unclassifiable just meaning the firm owners were not classifiable racially, for example, due to being owned by another company. This distribution holds for employees as well, with unclassifiable. Oh, sorry about that. Thought I skipped a slide there. There we go. Thank you so much, guys. Now here's the receipts. We can see the total receipts in thousands, and surprisingly, the distribution changes with the majority of the receipts at 24.2 trillion belonging to unclassifiable companies. Again, non-minority firms earned nearly 10 times what minority firms earned at 13 trillion to 1.6 trillion, respectively. This distribution holds for employees as well, with unclassifiable weighing in at 65 million people employed, but minority closing the gap on non-minority, being around 5 times fewer, with 53 versus 10 million people employed. And we conclude the racial breakdown with payroll in thousands, with a similar distribution, of the majority being unclassifiable at 4.4 trillion, non-minority at 2.6 trillion, and minority at 357 billion. Besides race, we can break down the 4 statistics by ethnicity as well. Here we can see the firm count at 5.1 million non-Hispanic versus 375,000 Hispanic, with a minority of unclassifiable and equally Hispanic and non-Hispanic firms. Again, the receipts take a completely different turn, with unclassifiable going from the vast minority to the vast majority at 24.2 trillion, followed by non-Hispanic at 14.1 trillion and Hispanic at 472 billion. This trend follows for employees, with 65 million unclassifiable, 60.1 million non-Hispanic, and 3 million Hispanic. Concluding with 4.4 trillion unclassifiable payroll, 2.9 trillion non-Hispanic, and 106 billion Hispanic. Now, just a general disclaimer before we move on. There have been large race and ethnicity changes from the 2020 ABS to the 2021 ABS, and these show up in all major census data sets. This is the result of improved race and ethnicity question design and coding procedures. These improvements enabled a more accurate depiction of how people self-identify, yielding a more accurate portrait of how people report their Hispanic origin and race within the context of the race and ethnicity questions asked on the survey. If you would like more information on this phenomenon, please feel free to look at the 3 links provided on this slide after the presentation. With that out of the way, let's move on to the aforementioned urban versus rural distinction. And let's break it down by demographics. Here we have an infographic released for the 2021 ABS talking about our new classification of urban versus rural firms, broken down demographics-wise by racial minority versus non-minority. As we can see here, non-minority outnumbers minority, but interestingly, distributions look almost identical between the two. Besides urban and rural, we have a lot of data on businesses, known as characteristics of businesses. I'll list some examples and show they can be broken down demographically. Here we can see the percentage of the number of owners of United States businesses, Surprisingly, the vast majority is solo owner, coming in at 60.4%, followed by a sharp drop of 35.2% of businesses owned by 2 to 4 owners, with the remaining being at 2% or lower. This is breakdownable in various ways. Here we can see how everything compares between the two extremes of less than 2 years in business and 16 or more years in business. As we can see, the less than 2 years in business side, i.e. the green, is more focused on the one person owned, while the 16 or more years in business firms are more evenly distributed. As you can see in the 11 or more people for less than 2 years in business category, there's an S. This means that the data collected didn't lead to statistics that were up to our publishing standards, so you can't derive it, but just by subtracting the rest from 100. Another piece of data we have regarding the characteristics of businesses is the percentage of types of workers employed by United States businesses. Intuitively, the vast majority is full-time paid employees at 82.1%, followed by part-time at 50.1%, contractors at 31.6%, and the remaining categories all at less than 5%. Please note that this is not a mutually exclusive question, and a business could employ multiple types of workers, so this graph does not add up to 100%. Changing up a bit, let's look at this data broken up by receipt size, with companies generating less than $5,000 in revenue a year versus those generating more than $1 million, the smallest and largest categories we have. Now, here we see some large differences. And while the less than 5,000 receipts firms had a similar distribution in terms of relative shape, all of the statistics were far less than the 1 million in sales. For example, only having 42.4% employing full-time workers versus 97% of 1 million in sales firms. The only place these smaller sales firms excel in is the none of the above category, coming in at over 50 times more than the larger counterpart, relatively. This may be due to using volunteers, which would fit into the none of the above category, and are also likely to be used by firms without a lot of spending power. But this is pure speculation on the causation and is not statistically verified, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. Here we can see the percentage of family-owned businesses in the United States, coming in at 72.9% non-family owned and 27.1% being family owned. Comparing firms with less than 500 employees and those equal to or more than 500, i.e. the common definition of small versus large businesses, we actually have a slightly surprising trend, with small businesses actually being reported as less commonly family owned, at 27.1 versus 28.1 reported for large businesses. Now, besides all those firm characteristics, we also have owner-specific characteristics. Here, we can see the highest level of degree achieved by business owners in 2020. You would think it would be just normal distribution, but as you can see, it's actually quite varied. While bachelor degrees are reported as the most common, there are interesting differences, such as non-high school educated business owners outnumbering PhDs at 2.7 versus 2.1% reported. This is, of course, also available in the various demographics listed earlier. Besides type of degree earned, we also have field of degree earned. Just as a note, this data only addresses those who earn bachelor degrees or higher. Here we can see quite intuitively that management and administration is the highest degree earned relatively, coming in at 20.5%, with the lowest being tied between Earth, atmospheric and ocean sciences, and physics/astronomy, both coming in at only 0.4% reported. This is, of course, examinable in the many ways listed so far, including industry. Here we can see the field of highest degree earned in the healthcare industry, with the data being quite intuitive, and the health-related degrees accounting for over half of all healthcare business owners, with the lowest this time by far being Earth Sciences at 0.1%. Here we can look at more owner data regarding various reasons for owning a business. Just as a note, while these are the very important responses, we also had somewhat and not all important, but these couldn't fit into one graph. As we can see here, the most important was wanting to be their own boss at 64%, while not being able to find a job is the least reported at 7.8%. And as it's probably obvious, they could select as many of these as they wanted, so it's not up to 100. It should come as no surprise that this data is viewable via demographics. This time, let's look at ethnicity. For Hispanic business owners, most of the percents seem to be higher, indicating more very important reasons, while still having the same highest and lowest occurring. This time, wanting to be one's own boss came in at 72.8% versus 64%, and not being able to find a job came in at 12.8% reported versus 7.8% reported. As mentioned before, we have data regarding module characteristics that change every year. The 2021 ABS specifically contains interesting data regarding working from home. Here we can see the general summary of firms working from home in the United States in 2020, with the 41.9% of reported firms working from home and the remaining 58.1% not, versus 28.1% work from home and 71.9% not in 2019. This data is also being collected for the 2022 ABS, so the trend here will be interesting to see. Like the other data, this can be broken down more. Let's look at some industry differences. Here we can see the highest and lowest reported industries that allowed working from home in 2020. While accommodation food services, quite intuitively, came in at just 16.9% firms that had any work from home employees, the information sector reported over 10 times that frequency at 82.7% with work from home employees. Speaking of working from home, we also provide data on the effects of COVID. Here's a recently published infographic talking about the effects of COVID on firm sales in 2020, broken down by sex and ethnicity. Taking female firms as an example, we can see 5.1% increased their sales significantly, 10.4% increased them somewhat, 18.3% reported little to no change, 27.9% decreased somewhat, and 38.3% reported large losses. These trends hold for all demographics presented, but it's useful to see the specific breakdowns for regularities, like how male-owned firms had almost identical reported somewhat to large losses, rather than the stark difference in the other demographics. Topical to COVID, let's look at some data on government financial assistance in 2020. As we can see here, there's a distinct pattern with the less than $5,000 requests being fulfilled almost 3 times the rate requested, with 5.5% businesses requesting a loan for under $5,000 and 12.9% receiving said loan. This, of course, leads to a slight drop for all of the other companies, with all the other rates of receiving being slightly lower than requested. Here, we can compare this between minority and non-minority businesses, racially, not minority and non-minority. And the trend is very similar, with the only real difference on the surface being that minority businesses reported requesting and receiving the $5,000 loans, the $5,000 or under dollar loans at a higher rate, leading to a lower rate for all other requests and receptions. Here, we can see the total key performance indicators for United States businesses in 2020. Key performance indicators can be anything from amount of products sold, new customers acquired, etc. This follows a fairly normal distribution, with monthly indicators being the highest and both zero and hourly indicators being the least common, which makes sense. For our final breakdown, let's do by state. Here we have 2 randomly picked states, Alaska and Colorado, and we see an interesting distribution, with Alaska having more indicators than Colorado in every case, except for Never, which didn't pass publication standards, so we can't speak on it. Now, what I've shown so far is just a small sample of the various business and owner characteristics we have available. We also add new ones every year. Some examples of interesting data points that I didn't cover today, but are available online, are the source and amount of startup or acquisition capital, business profitability, the reason the business ceased operation, and if the business had a veteran owner, the kind of service performed by that owner. Okay, now that we've shown some examples of how data can be used, let's look at some examples of how to actually get the data firsthand. We at Census use a data platform called census.gov for all of our data products, and I'll show a little demonstration now. This presentation is recorded, so you'll be able to look back and see exactly what I do, as well as being able to just click the links below to go directly to the data sets. Now, the way this application, WebEx, works is that you can only share one application at a time. So I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint and go over to Internet Explorer. So 1 second, guys. Okay, thank you for your patience. Now I'm just going to show you exactly how to get there. This is how I do it. At this job, I'm a survey statistician, so I work with the data a lot. And I'll just show you exactly how to do it every time. No links required, but we provide them if you want them. So first, I just Google us, the ABS census. I just searched this recently, so it auto filled in. But yeah, so just Googling ABS census or Binging it in this case, excuse me, we get our landing page. From here, go to data, ABS tables, and then we get what we're looking for. Now, if you recall, the first thing we were looking for was total firms in the United States, which was one of the first statistics I provided. So that is, as I mentioned earlier, in the company summary tables, which is the broad summary data. So you just click here, 2021 ABS. As mentioned, the collection year is the name of the survey. So if we want 2020 data, we go to the 2021 ABS. Of these 5 tables, we're just looking for none of these 4 things: urban, employer, receipts for years. We're just looking for the total number of firms. So let's just go to the first one. You actually can find them in the other 4 tables, but it's easier this way. So one of the reasons I wanted to walk through this is because there's a couple little tips / tricks that you just learn by working with the data a lot. So the way this data platform SetSci works is that if the table's too large and will take more than I forget what it is, it's like 1 second to load, it'll just ask you if you want to load it. Go ahead and load it. Usually it does not take very long at all. And here we are. Now, it actually happens to be the very first one here, but I like to just walk through how I would find it in general, because the way this table is structured, it's useful to actually look through how mechanics work. So filtering is what we want to do here. And we're just looking for the total for everything. So the total firm. So we want total here. Now, as I said, it's the first one, but let's see how we would get it to filter down to that. So you just click on filter, and then you go over here. Now, there is the underlying code that we use called the valid values, but the meaning of the X code, in this case, meaning of sex code, is just the readable version. So I'd like to click on that. Now here, you just want to unselect all, click total, the only one, and apply it. Now, we've already gotten the table small enough to not ask us every time, but sometimes it'll ask you, even when you filter once, if you want to open the table. So we're just going to repeat with ethnicity this time. Now, I've worked with this so long, I know this button is the apply one. but yeah, it actually does show up. I'll make sure to scroll down for this next one, which will be meaning of race code. So yeah, just unselect all, go down to total, apply. I believe there's one more we're going to do. Actually, there's 2 more I see now. Veteran code. And yeah, so I just realized the NAICS codes are still remaining. So we actually go do a different thing for this because the NAICS connect. I'm not sure the mechanics of it, but basically they connect to a bunch of surveys. So you have a devoted tab for them called the codes tab. Just click on this, industry codes, and we just want 00 the total. So that's what we're going to click on. Perfect. There we go. And now we can see exactly what we're looking for, which is 5.7 or 5.8 if you want to round million firms. Okay, I don't want to keep closing and switching back and forth. So just trust me, this is the correct order. Next, we want to find the total firms by state. Now we've already done everything we need to filter wise. So let's just do the geographies, which has its own tab, geos. Just click geos. Now here's a little trick I use, which is that you've got 2 options here: geographic entities, the default, and summary levels. I like to click on summary levels because it shows you the available ones. So as you can see in geographic entities, it has all these options. I think over half of which don't apply to the 2021 ABS. So I just like to use summary levels. And so we want a state. And Alabama, look, it's the first one. Wow, definitely not intentional. So yep, Alabama, 67,000 total firms, 67 or 68,000 if you want to round. Okay, now next is total small and large businesses, which is not in this table. As you may have recalled, we had 5 options to choose from, one of them being size of business. So let's just exit out. You could just go back, but I just like to go back through just to show you how I do it. So again, Google ABS Census, landing page, data, ABS tables, 2021, company summary. Awesome. Now we were talking about size of firm, specifically employee size. So as you can guess, we're going to link number 4, employment size of firm. Just get rid of this. And then, yep, we want to open the table anyway. Now, just to save you all some time, actually, it looks like it defaults to total for the first ones. Hey, perfect. Awesome. Now we'll just finish it off by filtering this part, the meaning of employment size. Now we wanted small and large businesses. So let's just stick to the normal definition, which is under and equal to or over 500. Still too large to display, I think, because we didn't filter the other 4. But just to save a little time, you can imagine how to do it. So yeah, as you can see here, firms with less than 500, small businesses for expense, makes up the vast majority at 5.7 million, with large businesses making up about 20.5 thousand. Okay, next we're going to a vastly different data set, which is family owned by industry. So we're mixing and matching here. So let's just go back to the standard way we go, data, tables, and here we are. So now we're talking about, we want family owned business by industry. So that's not going to be company summary. That's going to be characteristics of businesses. Now we want industry, and I believe all 5 of these have industry in them. Let's just go to the first one, as it's the most commonly used and most full of normal data. Open the table as before. I actually just realized I forgot an important step. Hey, this is good. So I just realized we actually could go there and find it that way, but we actually can save a little time. So if you want a specific characteristic, we actually default. So all of these auto filter, because it's difficult to find. Basically, you have to find this owner num, or in this case, FAMO, in the filters, and it's just not. We found it'd be easier just to auto filter them for us. So FAMO, here we go. Link 1 here. Open the table. Now we said by industry, so we just want to make sure by industry, I believe. So industry can be anything. Let's do it by sector, which is 2-digit NAICS specifically. When I say industry, I usually think of 2 digits, like all the big summaries, as you can see here: mining, utilities, construction, etc. Open anyway, and we might have to switch pages here. I'll just skip to the end just so you can see. And yep, there are multiple NAICS codes here now. Now, the final one we'll do is the highest degree earned by minority versus non-minority. Again, this will be a different data set. It will not be characteristics of businesses. It will be characteristics of business owners. You know what? I'm just going to skip a step, go right to data here. We're experts now. Just joking. All right. Characteristics of business owners. And again, we're looking for highest degree earned by minority versus non-minority. So here, we actually don't have 5 of each. We only have 1. So we are looking for highest degree earned. Let's see if it shows up. Here we are. So just click on this. Open anyway. And it's just the same as before. We'll be filtering through the appropriate sex, ethnicity, race, and veteran codes. As you can see here, it actually changes up a little bit because we are talking about owners and not firms, so you can't be classified as equally female and male. So in this case, we want total, which in this case is all owners of respondent firms. I'll just go through this for the remaining demographics until we get to what we're looking for. So meaning of race, we said minority versus non-minority. As you can see, you can actually pick from any of the races you want. But as I said, non-minority is white and non-Hispanic, minority being everything else. We're just going to look at those. Now we'll do ethnicity. Already selected. Then we'll conclude. Oh, here's the codes. Now, when we're with this enough, you know what code it is. It's 1, which makes sense. But just because we're assuming we're learning this for the first time, let's just do the intuitive way and go for meaning of veteran code. All owners of respondent firms. And I believe that was what we were looking for. Yep. So as you can see here, the minority owners. You can see the distribution here. I won't read all of them. Then you can see it goes over to non-minority, and we can go through all of these if we want to. Now that was all the demonstration I had planned, but as you can see, when I talked about the COVID data, for example, you can also find this in the ABS tables. But just go here, and it works the same as before. You just open it, find what you're looking for, and then, for example, financial assistance, and then just go through what we talked about before. If you're looking for the urban and rural classification, you would click on this. Now, as I said, I have to switch applications manually. Give me a second. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Thanks for your patience, guys. Okay. So here we are again. We are done with this now. So if you are interested in looking at our data, here are a few links. All of the links I provide and more, for example, the methodology and other technical documentation, can be found on our landing page, linked here. Here we have a link for our data page, which we went through quite a few times through Google, containing links to the data tables and APIs for the ABS. The news and updates link leads to our news and updates page, which contains release information when it becomes available. For further questions on data usage, release dates, anything else ABS related, you can call our general helpline, our branch line email for more data use driven questions. You can also reach out directly to me by phone or email if that's easier. And if it relates to the presentation, that would probably be the best thing to do. But if you have any questions now that have not been answered in the chat so far, feel free to ask them via the chat feature now or by calling. Thank you so much. And Linda, whenever you're ready, you can start the Q&A.
Thank you, Aaron, for the wonderful presentation on the 2021 Annual Business Survey and how to access the data. And now we will begin the Q&A portion. To ask your question, please use the raise your hand feature. When you hear your name, please unmute yourself to ask your question. So while we are waiting for our audience to line up in the queue, I do want to take this opportunity to share information on the 2022 economic census. This is our most comprehensive data source for business data. Businesses may be receiving a letter beginning in January, and we truly appreciate your help to spread the word in counting our economy. So let's check in the queue to see if we have questions. So we have a question from Reginald Williams. Reginald, please unmute yourself to ask your question. Hello, Reginald. How are you today? Oh, it looks like Reginald may have dropped off the queue. So we do have a question from Ron. Ron, please unmute yourself to ask your question. Hello, Ron. How are you today? We cannot hear you, Ron. All right. It looks like Ron has also dropped off the queue.
Can you hear me now? No.
Oh, yes, we can.
Yes, hi.
Do you have
any? Thank you for asking. Yourself, very good video so far. Any comparative analysis with other countries?
Aaron?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Ron. I do believe we have export data to other countries. That's as close as we get. No, we don't actually compare our data with other countries. Great question. I wish we did.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Ron, for your question.
You're welcome.
We have another question from Reginald. Reginald, please unmute yourself to ask your question. Hello, Reginald. Reginald, please unmute yourself to ask your question. Hello, Reginald, how are you? We are experiencing a little technical difficulty. Please hold on one moment, please.
Can you hear me there?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank goodness.
Welcome aboard, Reginald.
Let me just tell you something, guys. I know you guys are tied into WebEx, but it's just an inferior piece of software. And it just can't compete with the others that are on the market. I shouldn't have had this kind of problem just unmuting myself. I had to click 3 different places just to find where to go. Well, just a quick summary question.
Of course.
This was outstanding, outstanding. The level of work that had to go into pulling this research together was extraordinary. My hat's off to this division of the census. In looking for specific levels of business ownership by categories, such as construction, I have some questions about the subparts of that category, such as architecture, et cetera, et cetera. Do you guys maintain those subsets, information on the subsets, including race, gender, ownership, et cetera?
We do, yes. So as we mentioned before, and it sounds like you're quite knowledgeable about it, we go up to 4-digit NAICS for the 2021 ABS, and we do include demographic information such as race, ethnicity, sex, etc.
Outstanding. That's all I had.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your question.
Thank you, Reginald. Let's see if we have any additional questions coming in on the queue. Give it a moment here. All right, it looks like we have a question from JM. JM, please unmute yourself to ask your question. Hello, JM, how are you today? JM, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there's a slight delay.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. This is super helpful. I'm just wondering, if I would like to know more about the firm level information, is for the public data, is it only the aggregate statistics that's available? And if I would like to know more about the firm level data, how should I proceed?
Such a great question. So if I heard you right, you wanted to know if there was like data, like as in data on the sample we actually collected and before we aggregated into these statistics,
Yep.
right? Did I hear that
correct.
right?
Yep.
Unfortunately, no. We used to do that a while ago. I think the last one we did was for the 2012. Don't quote me on this. It was either 2012 or 2007 SBO, where we did release that. I think it was called the PUMS, but we don't do it anymore, unfortunately. So no, none of that, and we're not expected to release that anytime soon. So sorry to disappoint on that.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, JM, for your question. Our next question comes from Ron. Ron, please unmute yourself to ask your question. Hello, Ron. There may be a slight delay. Hello, Ron. Can you hear us? So, Ron, it looks like we are unable to hear you at this moment. So we may be having slight technical difficulty with Ron right now. Let's see if we have additional questions coming in the queue. All right, so we have Ron still in the queue. Let's try this again. Ron, can you please unmute yourself to ask your question? Hello, Ron, how are you today? There is a slight delay, so we are unable to hear you right now. And we are still unable to connect audio with Ron.
Hello, Ron. Is your phone on mute? We see that you have audio.
Okay, hold on. Yes. I'm sorry. I don't have another question. Appreciate your time. I pressed the wrong button.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ron, please ask your question.
Oh, no, I don't have another question.
Oh, yeah.
But
No, he doesn't have a question.
But I agree with the other gentleman's statement.
Yeah.
I think Zoom is a little easier. That's all.
Oh,
I've never presented from Zoom, so I can't comment. I have no idea. Linda's
Okay.
professional, so she makes the decision. So Linda, I'll leave it to you to verify this claim or not. But yeah, I'm just joking around. Thank you again, Ron, and thanks for bearing with us through the technical difficulties.
Yes, thank you. And sorry about that. I thought you had another question. So in the queue, all right, with the absence of additional questions, I would like to take this moment to thank everyone for your interest in today's webinar. If you have additional questions, please feel free to use the contact information that Aaron had provided. Also, if you have general questions, you can always contact us at 1-800-923-8282. Again, that number is 1-800-923-8282. Thank you again, everyone. This concludes today's webinar. Have a great day.